You're watching memorable entertainment television. MeTV Tri-State.
Broke the story on local homestead tax credit fiasco. Expose the Evansville Redevelopment Commission excessive spending habits.
Your community watchdog. CityCountyObserver.com is your online community newspaper dedicated to the progress of Evansville and Vanderburgh County. We're a nonpartisan publication providing insight into political issues and events that shape our community. We are a watchdog for you, the citizen. Check us out online, city-countyobserver.com. That's city-countyobserver.com.
Tri-State Voices, an open discussion with area leaders on issues affecting communities throughout the Tri-State. Now, here's your host, Mike Woods.
Good morning. Welcome to Tri-State Voices. Hi, I'm your host, Mike Woods. Tri-State Voices is jointly sponsored by WTSN, the City County Observer, and my office, Woods & Woods. Every week we interview important leaders around our tri-state to talk about issues that are important to all of us. Today we're honored to have Jonathon Weaver here. Mr. Weaver is a member of the City Council. He's a City Council at large. Before that he was the County Assessor. He's been involved in real estate for many, many years, and he's currently a member of ERA First Advantage Realty here in Evansville. Jonathan, it's good to have you.
Hey, thanks for having me.
You know, there's so many subjects I'd like to talk to you about. I'm not sure I know where to start, but why don't we just start with the recent proposal to have some drug testing on the City Council. Just tell me, what was the whole discussion about and where things are now?
Yeah, we had a recent resolution. We couldn't do anything by law, but Missy and I have been working on this for probably about 2 years. We noticed about 2 years ago that EPD in their contract had drug testing where the fire department didn't. So we wanted to make them equal. So we were able to get that into the new firefighters contract back in 2012. So this is something we've been talking about for a while. And why not even include elected officials? So we decided to bring it forward recently, and it was a resolution, it was an idea, it was a starting point to start talking about it, and unfortunately, it's shot down 7-2, so we just have to move on.
So at least for right now, it's dead.
At this point, yeah, the idea of having elected officials being drug tested here in Evansville is dead.
Suppose that someone, if they would have passed it, I was just wondering about the mechanics of it, and suppose that then one of the members of the City Council, they test positive for a prescription medication. Type of prescription medication that could be used for a legitimate purpose, but also could be abused. What mechanism would you have for that person to explain why they're taking the medicine?
Well, I mean, we didn't want to delve too much into somebody's personal medical history, but you know, I think there's prescribed levels and then there's abusive levels. So. We wanted to start the conversation and brainstorm, but unfortunately we didn't get to that point on how we'd handle a situation like that.
Okay. And then would alcohol be included?
That was the plan at that point in time.
Okay. Well, how would they do alcohol? Because, I mean, obviously you could test somebody, I guess, if they showed up at a City Council meeting, but on their own time, alcohol's legal. Yeah,
I mean, this is why we wanted to throw it out there as a resolution to begin the process with the mayor's office, with us as a body of the City Council to discuss this and how we would implement a plan that would be put in place.
And as I understand, pretty much the plan was you're going to make the City Council subject to about the same laws as the firemen and police.
Yeah, I think that's only fair. You know, we're not above anybody else. So we're held to a higher standard, so we should be. You know, if we're making the firefighters, the police officers, any new city employee that's coming in, take a drug test, we should be subjected to it too, was the idea, to make it fair for everybody across the board.
Suppose, just hypothetically speaking, that somebody's on the City Council, they passed it and then they tested positive for just, say, marijuana, and the person said, yeah, every now and then I smoke it, and if they don't like it, they can vote me out of office. I mean, should the people in Evansville be allowed to vote in or out who they want or don't want?
You know, well, it's an illegal drug at this point in time. I mean, we see what's happening in other states across the country. But here in Indiana, it's illegal, and that would be part of being illegal. So you would have, you're breaking the law.
Well, then, would they be kicked off the council then, or how would they handle that?
Well, this is why it was a resolution. It wasn't an ordinance. So this was to begin the process of talking about it, how we would implement it, what would the penalties be, would someone have to resign, would they just be publicly embarrassed? It just didn't make it past that point.
Okay. There's been a lot in the papers recently about the Kunkel Group. They've got a whole lot of properties for sale. They said it did not have anything to do with the lawsuit that was filed against them by the city. I haven't met anybody yet that believes that explanation. They have so many different properties downtown that what happens with the Kunkel Group right now, it's not kind of a private thing. It really affects the whole downtown. Where's all that going? Do you have a feel for that?
Well, let's rewind the clock a couple of years. When you look at what the Kunkel Group has done with the downtown condos and the lofts and what they've done to the old Wellborn Hospital, they do a really good job. When you walk into those buildings, they're very nice. You can't dispute the type of work they do. What's going on with them currently, I don't know. I want them to succeed because they have a history of doing a good job. And if we give them the opportunity for a project and the funding's there, private, public, or whatever, I have high confidence that they can complete it.
I'll tell you what worries me. When they had that at Kunkel Square, and it got shut down a couple years ago, they said the fire marshal didn't give them any warning. Because of our building and clients I've represented, when I've dealt with the fire marshal, they always give you warning. I've never had that before. And we know that Mayor Winnicky, people can say whatever they want about him, but he definitely cares a lot about the downtown. It's hard for me to imagine that the mayor would sue somebody that's been developing properties downtown and not give them any warning. That just doesn't quite add up. So you've got to wonder if they have the finances to be able to push these projects through, or we're going to be stuck with a bunch of things that are just sitting there because the construction group doesn't have the money to get it done.
Another fact maybe, or perception, besides the good job that they do, they did take on a lot of projects. When you look at, like you're talking about, Kunkel Square, the downtown condos, Park 41, did they get in over their head? I don't know. But they have properties for sale, and maybe they're trying to raise money to do other projects because, they do, the quality of their work is, in my opinion, really good. So.
Well, there's a couple buildings they saved. You wonder if it's going to end up like Scott Anderson. He did a lot of really good work downtown. In fact, he renovated the building we're in, the old jail, renovated several other buildings, but unfortunately he ended up filing bankruptcy. Too bad he filed bankruptcy, but the fact is, a lot of the good work that he did, people for generations are going to enjoy. They're going to forget about his good work. They won't know the name of the person that saved the building. But ultimately, the city benefited from what he did, even though he filed bankruptcy.
I think if you look at Donald Trump, for example. A lot of developers go through, they go through highs, they go through some lows, and many more highs after that. So, people just get into a period where, they make mistakes or something happened. The economy was crappy over the last couple of years for real estate, from 2009 through 2011, definitely. They'll survive and come back and be able to keep building the quality stuff that they do.
The type of work they're in, that seems to be what happens. Like you say, it's more of a boom-bust type of work than most of us are involved in. You don't see very many realtors or lawyers that end up going sky high and then filing bankruptcy and coming back. But it seems like with that group of people that are developing properties, they've got such thin margins and the cash flow is so difficult. That's kind of the world they live in.
You can think back with the economy too, and real estate. You even go back to 2008, even 2007. How much housing starts were there even in this area? I mean, it really started to come back noticeably last year and this year. The builders starting to build again, and that building boom here in the local economy. So. It's like I said, it's just ebb and flow sort of thing. They'll get through it, and we want them to succeed.
Well, hopefully it will. It'll be good for them and good for the city if they succeed. Where are things at with the McCurdy?
My understanding is that that might be sold off to another investor who might have more of a cash flow to get that done, and we hope that happens soon. Other than that, I don't know.
So McCurdy's been sitting vacant for a long time, and I'm hearing more and more rumors of people saying, you know, I don't think that's ever going to get done. The building's getting worse and worse shape, and it's falling in, and you're talking about millions of dollars to renovate that thing. I'm starting to get pretty skeptical that anything's ever going to be there.
This is, you know, I don't know how much of this is public, but the new interest in this is probably the most positive thing to come forward here in the last couple of years, and I believe that, you know, if the Kunkel's were to sell it to this other entity, it's going to get done.
Well, hopefully. You know, we're in the old jail here, and this building sat vacant from about 1967 for about 20 years or so, and there was some talk about tearing it down. Now it's a fine building, and at one time the old courthouse was in such bad shape that they were actually talking about tearing it down. And it's in great shape now. I mean, the county's put a lot of money in that thing. So, you know, who knows? I mean, McCurdy's not out of reach yet, but you hate to see it go the way of the old train station over there on Fulton Avenue. It was a great building, and
everyone just needs to realize it takes a ton of money for these older buildings. Look at the old post office and how beautiful that's becoming now. The Greyhound station's starting to come alive. So it takes one particular person at one point in time with this much money, either public or private, and we just got to be patient, I guess, and hopefully it doesn't deteriorate to the point of demolition.
It's going to be fascinating to see what happens with the old Greyhound station. They've got all the panels pulled off that thing, exposed the brick, and when they get all done, it's going to be a really neat building. And then usually once an old building like that is saved, it's good. From then on, people will be protected. It won't ever get in that shape again. At least that's been the history.
At least maybe in our lifetime, yeah.
Well, it's like the building we're in, the old jail here. I can't imagine this thing ever deteriorating again now. It's in too good a shape. So, what's going on with the hotel? The mayor had planned a hotel, went to the city council. The city council said, we'll give you some money, not near what you want. And then we've had several times it started and stopped.
Well, it's just like any other real estate transaction. You know, closings are put off for whatever reason. You know, it could be inspections, could be financing, could be whatever. So, you know, I think this is just another, you know, it's a slow process. We're not happy about it. You know, we wanted it open for fall of 2015. It looks like it's going to be probably extended a year if I had to guess. You know, they took bids, but you know, now they're sending out proposal for new bids for whatever reason. So, you know, it's just one of those things that I don't think there's a major problem, but I guess you never know. But, you know, we're keeping it positive that, you know, the project's moving forward.
You know, the main thing I'd like to see with that hotel is it be really a high-quality hotel. I don't want to see something like a Days Inn in downtown Evansville. I don't think that's what we need.
No, we're going to get a DoubleTree by Hilton, which, if you ever stayed in one, they're nice places. You know, we're not going to get the, you know, Ritz-Carlton, but you know, this is going to be good. You know, it's going to complement the Ford Center. We all knew when Mayor Weinzappel had this vision that when the arena was being built, that there was going to have to be a hotel. So now I have high expectations and vibes that we're going to get this hotel. And it's going to complete the nice campus around there. When you think you got a beautiful library, you have the old National Events Plaza, the Ford Center, the center's right, the Civic Center's right there. So now we're going to have the medical school, and we need a hotel to complete that area of town. And it's just going to be, you know, fantastic.
Is the med school pretty much a done deal?
You know, it's my understanding we're waiting on the funding from the state legislature. That's the next step in the process.
But that seems, from what I can get on, that seems pretty well assured, though. I can't imagine the state legislature pulling the rug out from under it.
I would surely hope not. You know, this corner of the state needs an IU presence, a larger one, and you know, we're expecting that to happen.
Mm-hmm. There was a lot of talk recently about the tax abatements. You know, there was a tax abatement given to a medical group and to a grocery store and that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. Do you think the number of tax abatements given out in Evansville are about right? Too many, not enough?
You know, we got to look at it in terms of what's it going to do for the future. You know, when somebody wants to come in and remodel and build something nice, that's going to improve the area. It's going to up the real estate values, the assessed values, the property taxes in the area. It's going to provide jobs. So I think these, you know, under the right situation, it's a good thing.
Okay. What about Mesker? You know, most of us have really fond memories of Mesker Amphitheater, but it's going to have to be totally redone. I mean, there's almost nothing left of the thing, and you're talking about, I've heard various estimates, anywhere from the low sides, maybe 8 or 10 million, up to 20, 25 million. Evansville has the Victory, the Old National Events Plaza, the Ford Center, and it seems to me a lot of those places are underutilized now. Does it really make sense? And I mean, I loved Mesker. I'd love to see it happen, but does it make sense to add another place when these other three are not utilized?
Well, somebody brought up a good point about summer concerts. Why don't we have any summer concerts at the Ford Center, the Victory, or very little, we'll say, or the Old National Events Plaza? Well, you know, according to Venue Works, people at this time of year like to go outside to concerts. So when you look around Evansville, what do we have for outdoor venues for concerts? Like, you know, we have that beautiful riverfront, but you really can't pull up boats for a concert there because it's in the middle of the channel, the shipping channel. Mesker's always been around. You know, yeah, we're probably going to need $20 million for it. But that would be, if you go to Owensboro and look at Smothers Park, man, they got this nice pavilion for outdoor concerts and how it projects the sound, you know, with the canopy, and you know, it's probably worth the time and money to invest in that.
Well, of course, Evansville spent, you know, about what, $100 million on the Ford Center, $50 million on the med school, maybe $20 million is going to be spent on the hotel, and a bunch of other projects going on. They're all neat projects and everything, but at some point you got to say, wow, can we really afford all this?
You know, it's can be scary to think about. Yeah, we have a sewer mandate that's going to cost hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. You know, we have the water lines. I mean, look at all the. I mean, we have a very old infrastructure that needs to be looked at. We have the sidewalks that need to be handicap accessible. We just there's a lot of things happening.
What's going on with the zoo? There was some proposals for some pretty good sized projects out there, correct?
Yeah, when you talk to the zoo director, you know, it's every 5 to 7 years. It seems like you need a new project to make everybody excited. So we had Amazonia, you know, within the last, I'll say, 10 years. Beautiful place. So it's probably about time for something else. And the proposal for Africa, what they're calling it, yeah, it's probably going to be about another $20 million.
Just roughly, what is that proposal?
Well, just he wants an area. He's going to call it Africa. It's going to be like a new safari place. You know, get new animals and just improve on what's there.
Okay. $20 million. That's a lot of money. Again, you know, it's.
It's a ton of money. So, and we have to look at things on how. Yeah, we got to think of ways to generate revenue, and you know, without raising taxes, and you know, can we up the hotel tax, let out-of-town people, you know, pay for some of our things? That's something to think about. So.
There's been a lot of talk about the casino over here. The amount of revenue it's generated is going down. And at one point, Tropicana was talking about putting a lot of money into a land-based casino. They'd get rid of the boat, bring the LST over there. But in some ways, I wonder if we have missed the boat on getting rid of the boat, because just last week, if you look what happened in Atlantic City, there's 3 casinos going broke up there. I mean, the market's just too crowded. I wonder, will we still be able to get that kind of money out of Tropicana?
No, I don't know, but that's a good example when you wait too long to make decisions. You know, they've been asking for land-based casinos for a long time. How French Lick can get away with a land base and not us and other places across the state, I don't know. But you know, let's make it fair. But you know, we got to convince the the governor's office that this is needed. It brings in a lot of money for the city, for the state, and like I said, make it fair. And they might be willing to expand and put in a lot more money into the city.
My sense is that Tropicana would still love to do a land-based casino, obviously, but as time goes on, I just can't see them committing that amount of money. I mean, I think this deal that happened in Atlantic City has really just shocked the entire gaming industry, left them all gun shy, really.
And you know, some people say, you know, we can't put all our eggs in that one basket and rely on gaming revenue. So we need to be creative and look for ways to bring in more. I think with the general managers changing at Tropicana, you know, that might be a change too, where you're saying, yeah, 3 or 4 years ago they might have been willing to put in a lot more money than maybe they are now. So.
Well, Kentucky is having more and more discussions, and more people in the legislature are talking about allowing places like Ellis Park to go to the so-called racino, where you have the horse racing and the casinos, because I guess Kentucky's getting beat up by some of the places in the Northeast that have a combination. And some of those places actually lose money on the horse races, but they're making it up for it because of the horse races bring the people in to get the casinos. So it just seems to me Tropicana may be a little gun shy. They may be looking over there and saying, wow, we dump all this money in here, and then Ellis Park gets the right from the state to expand. Now our numbers are going to go down.
The state legislature needs to decide how progressive they want to be. You know, do they want to beat Kentucky to the punch or not? So that's something that we just got to work on our local delegation, who I think is in support of land-based. I think we did a resolution within the last couple months for land-based. I believe both parties are interested in that happening. So now it's just convincing the rest of the legislature and the governor to make this happen.
Well, Dave, I've interviewed several of our local legislators. They're all in favor of it, but none of them seem to be very optimistic that as long as Pence is in there, it's going to happen. Pence has got his eye on the White House, and for some reason he seems to think that if he supported that would hurt him with the right wing of the Republican Party. At least that's the theory going around.
You're
not disagreeing with that theory.
I'm not going to disagree with you. You know, I think this is a stepping stone for the governor, and I don't want to be bashing the governor, but you know, I don't think he's governor for the right reasons at this point in time.
Yeah, it's always bad if somebody takes a job just as a stepping stone. I think that's kind of where we're at with him, really. But I can't imagine that working out. But who knows? It's hard to predict politics.
Yeah, that's.
Let me ask you: there was a proposal that make all city council members full-time. Right now, everybody there is part-time, at least in theory part-time, probably work close to a 40-hour week or more sometimes, but you're paid $19,000 a year plus health insurance. One of the proposals was to make it full-time at $60,000 a year, and you'd wipe out the people's right to have outside employment. What do you think of that proposal? You
know, being an assessor, I loved being there 40 to 50 hours a week. You had one thing to concentrate on. You know, and we thought we did a really good job. When you get into these part-time council positions, yeah, $19,000 a year isn't enough for most people to live on. So yeah, we have some outside employment, and a lot of us are self-employed too. So we're torn in all sorts of directions on making a living, you know, handling constituent concerns, and just trying to be organized. So, yeah, this is first I'm hearing of that idea. You know, it'd probably be a good idea to make that happen at some point in time.
One of the drawbacks, I think, is if you go down the list of everybody on the city council, you've got a good real estate business. It'd put you in a tough position. You go, wow, do I want to give up my private practice and go for that? And the same Missy Mosby has that. You've got Al Lindsay, for example. He's on the fire department. Is he going to quit the fire department? And I don't know where he is with his pensions. Probably pretty close to getting a pension. Al probably couldn't do that. You go Connor O'Daniel. I can't imagine Connor giving up his law practice. And so I wonder if you're going to erode the pool of people that you could get on there.
Well, people are definitely going to have to make a decision. It is called public service for a reason, because most people take a paycheck or pay cut. Yeah, I mean, I personally think the mayor's $100,000 a year salary is kind of low. You know, maybe it should be closer to $150,000. So we can make it an attractive position with talent. You know, draw in talent that's qualified and educated enough and likable to be able to do it, to do good jobs.
You know what happens if you've got a job, just suppose like Connor O'Daniel. I mean, he's a really successful lawyer. Now here, if he had to take that thing full time, first of all, you've got to run for office. That messes up your private practice, and you think, wow, I'm going to have to run full time for a full-time position, and I'm going to have to tell all my clients that if I win, by the way, you're all done. Well, that's going to wreck your private practice. And just like you with real estate, you know, if you were up for election, people would say, wow, if right now he may not have his mind on the my case, because he knows if he wins, I'm going to have to get another realtor. They may be hesitant to hire you.
Yeah, we're all in the same boat with that. You know, I think there are 2 retirees on city council. Al's position requires him to be there, but I think the rest of us are independent contractors, business owners of some sort, where our schedules are more flexible to be able to handle. You know, we can do real estate for 2 to 3 hours, and then we can do council work for 1 to 3 hours, and then we can do other, you know. That's the type of people you're probably attracting, which is why we're all small business owners. We're flexible and able to. We don't have the normal 9 to 5 job. You know, our days start at 4:30, 5:30 in the morning, and you know, we don't get home to 9, 10 o'clock at night, especially on election years. So.
Well, you take somebody like John Friend. I mean, he's got a successful CPA practice. I can't imagine John looking at this saying, yeah, I'm going to give up my CPA practice I've spent 30 years building up, and I'm going to take this job at $60,000 a year, knowing that I may lose an election in 4 years, and then I'm going to have to go back and try to build that practice again. It's,
you know, I don't know where, like I said, this first idea that I'm hearing about it, I mean, it always would have been a good idea to do it, but here's the problem, too. It's your opponents in the next election cycle are going to say, so-and-so voted to triple their salary.
Yeah.
So that's the dilemma you're going to get in, and that's where voters may or may not get fired up over that thing, thinking that we were being greedy when we actually had a good reason behind it to make all of us full-time. You know, and that's kind of a disappointing part, too, of this job. We don't have desks in the Civic Center. There's no place for us to go in the Civic Center to do our job. And that's something that's going to have to happen. And
I know it's strange. People always ask, where's his office? You don't have one.
It's on Franklin Street. It's my real estate office. But yeah, I mean, and that's going to cost $1 million or so to remodel parts of the Civic Center that are vacant to add offices for us. You know, and then who's going to be, who's going to be the admin people? You know, is it going to be the city clerk's office, or are we going to have to hire more people to do that too? So, stuff to think about.
Well, and like I say, then if you vote for those changes, it could get twisted around the next election.
Exactly.
Well, I hate to say it, we're almost out of time here. I really appreciate you coming, and I hope you'll be able to stop back by and talk to us again sometime.
Thanks for the invite.
Appreciate our viewers for tuning in. Next week, we'll be honored to have the current sheriff, Dave Wedding, who is, like I say, the current sheriff, and he's also up for election right now. So we'll see you next week.
Broke the story on local homestead tax credit fiasco. Expose the Evansville Redevelopment Commission excessive spending habits.
Your community watchdog. CityCountyObserver.com is your online community newspaper dedicated to the progress of Evansville and Vanderburgh County. We're a nonpartisan publication providing insight into political issues and events that shape our community. We are a watchdog for you, the citizen. Check us out online, city-countyobserver.com. That's city-countyobserver.com.
You're watching memorable entertainment television. Me TV Tri-State.